I'm Nadima, Umar, Uthman. Coming up in the bulletin. Government declares 3-day mourning after passing of former First Lady GHOne Rawlings. Also, new poll by Global Info Analytics for October 2025 shows Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia leading as flag bearer with 44% against Kennedy Ohene Japan, who trails with 19%. Also, 5 individuals arrested for possessing firearms and ammunition as security agencies work to restore calm at Gulumpe in the Kintampo North municipality of the Bono East region. And in business, Ghana's domestic debt has, for the first time in several years, surpassed its external debt, reaching 322.7 billion cedis as of July 2025. And on the international front, UN calls on Israel to open Gaza's main southern crossing at Rafah to increase aid amid ceasefire. We have details of these and many more, including sports and entertainment. Stay with us. Many thanks for joining us once again. Remember, you can watch this bulletin live on all our social media platforms at GHOne TV. Now, President John Dramani Mahama has declared 3 days of national mourning for the late former First Lady GHOne Rawlings from today, Friday, October 24, to Sunday, October 26, 2025. During this period, all national flags are to be flown at half-mast across public buildings, diplomatic missions and government installations, both within Ghana and abroad. The declaration is in honor of the late Mrs. GHOne Rawlings' memory and in recognition of her distinguished service to the nation. Throughout her life, she was celebrated for her unwavering dedication to women's empowerment, child welfare, and social development. GHOne Rawlings was a trailblazer in Ghanaian politics and civil society, widely respected for her passion for equality and social justice. Meanwhile, the family of the late former First Lady GHOne Rawlings has appealed for privacy as they mourn her passing. Speaking at a brief press briefing at her residence, at Ridge here in Accra, the family head, Oheneba Lovelace Prempe, said details regarding the burial of Ghana's first female presidential candidate will be communicated by the president in due course.
Earlier this morning, Her Excellency Nana Konadu Rawlings felt unwell and was subsequently admitted at the Ridge Hospital. Unfortunately, she passed. His Excellency the President was subsequently informed accordingly, and Utufo Osetu the Segura Santihene was also informed. His Excellency the President has caused an official statement to be made confirming Nana Konadu's death. At this stage, the family is obviously in mourning and will crave your indulgence to give us some privacy. All further notices will be relayed by the government.
Well, Ghana is still in a state of shock as this year alone, the country has bid farewell to many great personalities, including the August 5 helicopter crash victims that included 2 ministers of state, security service personnel and government appointees. Also, we lost renowned musicians Daddy Lumba and Dada Kedi, Apostle Kojo Safo, the Mampong Hene, the Asante Hema, Nana Ama Konadu Iyadom III, and now former First Lady Nana GHOne Rawlings. Nana GHOne Rawlings served as Ghana's first lady from 1982 to 2001 and was widely celebrated for her tireless advocacy for women's rights and social development initiatives. Here's a brief biography of Ghana's longest serving First Lady.
Born on 17th November 1948 in Cape Coast. She had her education at Ghana International School, Achimota School, University of Science and Technology, and the London College of Arts. In her roles in politics, she became the First Lady of Ghana for Flight Lieutenant J.J. Rawlings. From 4th June 1979 to 24th September 1979, and continued on the 31st of December 1981 to January the 7th, 2001. She leaves behind a legacy of the 31st December Women's Movement. She was the founder and president of this broad-based, development-oriented, non-governmental organization established in 1982. The movement's goal was the emancipation and empowerment of women at every level of development, focusing on socio-economic and political progress. The movement established over 870 preschools in Ghana and worked on issues like child development, family planning, adult literacy, and promoting women's roles in decision-making. Through her efforts, Ghana was the first nation to approve the United Nations Convention on the Right of the Child in 1991. She also played a crucial role in the adoption of an interstate succession law to protect women's inheritance rights. In her political career, she was elected as the first vice chairperson of the National Democratic Congress, that's the NDC, in 2009. In 2011, she unsuccessfully challenged President John Atta Mills for the NDC's presidential candidate position. In 2016, she became the first woman to run for president of Ghana in a general election with her party, National Democratic Party. She is survived by Dr. Zanato, Amina, Yasantua, and Kimathi Agyemang Rawlings.
Our thoughts and prayers are with the family during this very difficult time. But let's move away from that and do some politics, as a new poll by Global Info Analytics for the month of October 2025 shows that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia still leads among likely delegates voters with 44% compared to his main rival, Kennedy Agyapong, who trails with 19%. But Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's votes has dipped slightly compared to the September 2025 delegates poll. Dr. Brian Champon is in third place with 5%, while Dr. Yao Osei Educhum and Kobna Ejei Agyapong both have 1%. The poll also shows that while Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia lost 3% votes compared to September 2025 poll, Kennedy Agyapong and Brian Champon both gained 2%. Also, the poll shows that significant change in delegates' choices. There's significant change in delegates' choices when it comes to the runoff between Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia obtaining 46%, while Kennedy Agyapong secures 23%. This MPP's delegates poll is, however, in sharp contrast to the survey by research group Academics and Professionals, which placed Kennedy Agyapong in a commanding lead with about 53% ahead of the New Patriotic Party's presidential primaries scheduled for January 2026. Away from that, air pollution claimed more than 32,000 lives in Ghana in 2023. That's according to the State of Global Air 2025 report. Now, the report, compiled by the Health Effects Institute in collaboration with the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation, indicates that air pollution was responsible for nearly 14% of all deaths in the country last year, making it Ghana's second leading risk factor for death, killing more Ghanaians than road accidents, malaria, or even poor diet. Yet, it remains one of the country's most silent public health threats. Ghana is slowly paying a heavy price for the air we breathe. The latest data paints a sobering picture of a nation struggling with pollution. In Accra, the World Health Organization's Urban Health Initiative found that more than 20,000 premature deaths in 2016 were caused by household air pollution alone, largely from charcoal and wood used for cooking. Shockingly, over 60% of child deaths from acute lower respiratory infections were linked to this same source, showing how everyday practices at home are putting lives at risk. Ghana's air pollution crisis is not just an environmental issue, but a public health emergency demanding quick action. Every smoky bus, every open fire, and every pile of burning waste carries a silent cost. Very worrying development there, but let's move to another story as the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources has revoked 278 small-scale mining licenses nationwide for various regulatory breaches and expired permits. According to a Facebook post by the ministry's spokesperson, Kwesi Shandorf, the decision is in line with the Minerals and Mining Act 2006, Act 703, and the Minerals and Mining Regulations 2012 LI 2173. Mr. Shandorf explained that the affected operators either failed to meet environmental and safety standards or continued mining beyond their license validity period. The ministry noted that such breaches undermines public trust and the integrity of mining governance, emphasizing that the regulations are meant to ensure responsible and sustainable mining. It's also further urged all miners to adhere to the rules for acquiring and renewing mineral rights to avoid future sanctions. A conversation on this. Let's bring you a conversation on this. I've been joined via phone by Aula Sewa, who is the coordinator of Eco-Conscious Citizen, as she joins me for a conversation on this. Many thanks for joining me, Aula. 278 mining licenses revoked. Is this the bold step that you've been wanting government to take in this fight?
Well, you see, the steps we want multifaceted. We have asked for a state of emergency because we feel that that is necessary to have the correct environment to deal with the problem. Yes, revoking these licenses, it's a step in the right direction. But the big but is that, are they going to be revoked or are they going to be, what shall I say, the licenses given to other persons to go and continue mining? That's the dilemma we face.
But how would you...
And the reason why I'm saying, the reason why I'm saying that is that in Atronsu, for instance, you know, where the mining going there was polluting the Atronsu stream, the activists rather are facing criminal charges because 2 excavators got burnt. And those who were polluting the stream and destroying the landscape, nothing has happened to them. But what is worrying is that the activists are being put under pressure by persons who want to mine, who claim to belong to the ruling party and who are putting pressure on the activists to withdraw their complaint against the illegal mining going on and to agree to cooperative mining, when the activists have made it quite clear that they want to say no thank you to mining, whether community mining or cooperative mining, they want to say no thank you. Because as we've just seen, revoking so many licenses for breaches and so on and so forth, the machinery to monitor, sadly, isn't there. The machinery isn't there. So we allow them to operate for a period of time. Before then, we are thinking of revoking the licenses. So if we don't cure the situation we have, which is inadequate resources to properly monitor, then we'll revoke all these licenses. Before you realize, new licenses will be issued to other persons who also mine, not abide by mining regulations, and the same problem continues.
But you mentioned that the things or the monitoring mechanism is not in place. But is that not what the ministry did, which is why they've been able to revoke these number of licenses? Because according to the ministry, they've been in breach of what they're supposed to do?
The point being made is that they didn't become in breach today. They've been breached for a very long time. For some reason, now it has dawned on us that they're in breach and we've revoked the licenses. But if you are going to do this give an example, every 5 years, every 7 years, it's not going to help us. What we want is a regular monitoring to be in place so that as soon as you breach any law, you are dealt with. But what is happening is that right now we've heard about so many licenses that have been breached. Very good. Clap, clap, clap. But if we don't put systems in place to make sure that when we to issue new licenses to other actors, perhaps persons associated with the regime or whatever, if you don't have a proper monitoring system in place, then they can also be in breach of mining regulations. And when are we going to do something about it? After they've operated for how many years? So we need to have a proper system where before anybody starts mining, we ensure that they are in a position to mine. For example, they've got all the necessary licenses from EPA, water resources, or every license that they need before we permit them to start mining. I would like to throw a challenge for anybody to show me a small-scale miner who is mining and obeying all the regulations in place. I'll be very happy to be pointed to those who are doing that. It's very difficult because the monitoring is not taking place. And mining is a very expensive business. That's why most people do not necessarily abide by the rules, but start mining anyway. And the authorities are very slow to do anything about it.
Aula, earlier you also mentioned political interference. How should the ministry be handling this? Because 278 licenses have been revoked. Certainly, some will come out and say that they have some form of political backing or the other. How should the ministry be handling this?
Well, you see, what we need right now is the political will to say that Ghana must come first. So we have to look at what the laws and regulations say. Persons who are in breach are in breach. The licenses have been revoked. Thank you very much. But before you issue any new licenses, you need to ensure that they have done what they need to do before they start mining. A lot of the time, people get mining licenses and they just start mining. But before you start mining, for instance, the EPA has to come in. We need to find out that you have complied with all the steps that you need to comply with before you start digging. We don't have the resources in place to monitor this. So what I'm saying is that it could be, I'm not saying it is, but it could be a PR exercise, revoke licenses of persons who are clearly in breach. But what happens after this? Are we going to issue licenses to other actors? And if we are going to do this, aren't we going to have a repetition of the problem that we are facing if we don't have the mechanism in place to ensure that they do the right thing? Otherwise, it will be musical chairs. We don't want musical chairs.
Grateful for your time. Aula Sewa is the coordinator of Eco-Conscious Citizen, and she joined me for that conversation. But let's still stay on this. I've been joined by phone by Parkwesi Shandov, who is the spokesperson. Thanks for joining me. I'm sure you just heard the conversation I had with Aula Sewa. She's just saying that this is another PR exercise for the ministry. How do you respond to this?
Well, she didn't say emphatically that it's a PR exercise. She's fearing or she's suspecting that it could be a PR exercise. But I think that comment is in very bad faith. It was not well conceived at all. Why would she welcomed the initiative with that depth and level of negativity. I mean, in the fight against illegal mining, we welcome criticisms, but also when the government takes measures that are appropriate, we should be objective enough to commend it. Indeed, this is not a PR exercise whatsoever. If you examine the measures that the ministry has put in place to deal with the menace of illegal mining, the reformation of the licensing regime, for example, is a core priority in that respect. And so this exercise only ties into it. Therefore, we cannot constitute it as a PR gimmick. In any case, what is PR about the revocation of licenses? The 278 licenses that have been revoked is only the beginning, because if you look at the total number that stands to be revoked, it exceeds the 278. The other issue is that another exercise has begun, and that one has gotten to do with the large-scale mining companies. As I speak to you, the committee is investigating some over 450 large-scale mining licenses, and the essence of these joint exercises is to ensure that we are able to sanitize the mining and deal with all the environmental breaches. And so this cannot in any way constitute a PR affair whatsoever. It's only government's commitment towards the fight against illegal mining.
Pakwesi, what would you say to those who are in this space, such as our last West Group, for instance, who say that you've allowed these small-scale miners to operate for a long time without any form of a monitoring mechanism?
Who allowed them to operate for a long time? There has always been a system. That's the point I'm making. There's always been a system that is supposed to enforce regulation and deepen compliance. But over the last 8 years, it has rather been a very weak system. We, in this new administration, under the leadership of the sector minister, is redefining the narrative. And so it cannot be the case that we are rather allowing their illegality to fester. Indeed, if we wanted them to continue perpetuating the illegality, these exercises would not have gone on in the very first place. And so this should not be perceived or animated as another charade being put forward by any government whatsoever. It is a definitive step to ensure that the mining sector, the extractive industry, is sanitized in a renewed fight against illegal mining.
But Pakwesi, how is the ministry or this new administration going to ensure that this process is free from any form of political interference, as we've heard in past instances?
Well, I want to, on this note, let me just import this very example. As I speak to you, the current third national chairman of the National Democratic Congress, as well as the party's national organizer, are currently subjects of interest in an ongoing investigation with respect to illegal mining. Yes, they have separately and categorically denied their involvement, yet still the government is still insistent that the investigation must come to a finalized conclusion. If the government of the day has the guts and the temerity, the courage to probe its own members, then clearly there is an abundance of political will to deal with the menace of illegal mining. And that same political will is what is extending to this exercise and all other exercises. Therefore, it cannot be the case that the fear that you have would become a manifest reality where political interference will come in whatsoever. The sector minister, the Honorable Emmanuel Amakofi-Boa, has assured that nobody would be spared. Once upon interrogation and probing and investigation, it becomes apparent that your license is not supposed to be held. Really, it would be revoked without any form of consideration whatsoever, because the goal is to safeguard the environment, and that remains the ultimate objective of government at large.
Pakwesi, grateful for your time this morning. He is the spokesperson for the Lands Ministry. But let's move away from this, as sponsor of the anti-gay bill and Member of Parliament for Assin Central, GHOne Intim-Fojo, has urged President John Dramani Mahama to honor his pre-election promise by signing the bill into law. He spoke to our parliamentary affairs correspondent, Ibrahim Alassane. We apologize for that. We'll bring you that interview in our subsequent bulletin. But Chairman of Advocates for Christ, Edem Senanu, has expressed frustration over the delay in the in presidential assent to the anti-gay bill, hinting at possible legal action if the president fails to act. According to him, the prolonged inaction undermines the will of Parliament and the expectations of many Ghanaians who support the legislation.
This is a bill that has a lot of interest. Over 90% of Ghanaians have a very strong interest in this bill. So that kind of confusion should not arise. The parliamentary processes are such that the situation where this should have been tabled and then suddenly we are told that that's not what should have happened. And that shouldn't have occurred at all. But secondly, and more substantively, the arguments made by the majority leader technically sound right, because on the 28th of February 2024, there was a consensus decision. They passed it. So Parliament had finished its work long before the tenure of that Parliament. And I gather that's not the only bill that had been completed, and yet our past president failed to act on it. And so if government is a continuum and our presidency is a continuum, then it stands to reason that one of the questions we should be asking ourselves is, what has the current government done about it?
Still on this, the Executive Director for Parliamentary Network Africa, Samuel Bing, says the anti-gay bill, together with others, were passed and transmitted to the President and has gone through the necessary parliamentary processes, and that the decision now lies with the President to sign or not sign it, with reasons to Parliament.
This bill, together with the other bills that passed in the 8th Parliament, which were transmitted to His Excellency the President, had gone through all of the processes, the parliamentary processes necessary. They had been passed by Parliament. And so now we cannot come back to Parliament to claim or to act as though these bills have not passed. What is left is for His Excellency the President to do the needful with respect to his prerogative of signing to it or refusing to sign by coming back to Parliament to give the reasons for that, and then Parliament takes it up from there. What is quite curious is that although the previous president erred, so far as we are concerned, in refusing to sign on to these bills, I do not see why it has also taken 10 months with the current president in office not taking action so far as these matters are concerned. And these actions does not necessarily need to be accenting. It could be bringing it back to Parliament with consent, etc., etc. But for us to be hearing the concerns around the need for accent, whether the bill had been passed or not passed, the disagreement between the majority leader and the minority leader at this time is concerned. And for me, that is what needs to be resolved.
Back to our earlier story, where sponsor of the anti-gay bill and Member of Parliament for Ascent Central, GHOne Intim-Fojo, has urged President John Dramani Mahama to honor his pre-election promise by signing the bill into law.
I cannot preempt. It would be most unfair to preempt the decision that the president. I think it would be most disrespectful for me to doubt the president that having supported the bill in 2024, just 11 months ago. I don't think anything has changed in the mind and principle of President Mahama for me to suggest that he will hesitate to sign it, because he said it, that he's a member of Assemblies of God Church. He's a Christian. He doesn't condone these things by faith and values. And so if he were president, he would have signed it with alacrity. Now he is president. And now we are told that by his majority leader, that the bill is there pending the president's assent. So President Mahama, consistent with what he said, assent to it, and then case closed.
Let's now take you to the Bono East region, where security forces have arrested 5 individuals for possessing firearms and ammunition as part of ongoing efforts to restore calm at Gulumpe in the Kintampo North municipality. Tension, however, remains high following violent clashes between Gonja and Kokumba factions earlier this week.
Security operations in Gulumpe have led to the arrest of 5 individuals found with firearms and ammunition, a move reinforcing the government's ban on the possession of weapons and war regalia within and around the community. The operation forms part of intensified efforts to stabilize the area and prevent further violence following clashes that left 4 people in critical condition. Calm returned to the town by Wednesday afternoon after the deployment of armed police and military personnel, but fear still grips residents. The once bustling community is now a ghost town. Shops shuttered, schools closed, and all economic activities brought to a standstill. Many women and children have fled to safety, leaving behind men who remain to guard their homes and livelihoods.
It's a tribal conflict, but some of the security personnel no back room. I'm sure say I'm security for no. I'm maintaining peace. And look when some call other side, not enjoy other side. I saw a detention back room. It's a security personnel. I'm about more myself. I say more not peace in back room.
Yeah, you're in the moon. You are my Johnny Ajay. As you see, I know Johnny also Johnny. If you know it be an abisi, would the fear be a pair at Japanese for not about Cope, not be BC, in fact, I idea higher.
Regional Police Commander DOCP Odro Amening has assured residents of the security agency's neutrality and commitment to maintaining peace in Gulumpe and surrounding areas.
We are hoping and praying that this situation will continue to the rest of the days. I am telling them that if they have their people among the deserted, they should ask them to come back because the security is very tight here and we are ensuring that we provide security for all of them, for them to go about their economical activities.
As security patrols continue, residents hope this fragile calm will hold and that peace will once again return to Gulumpe.
Let's connect with our reporter from the area, Hamzata Idris, who joins me via phone. Hello, Hamzata. Many thanks for joining us. What more can you tell us?
So, the tension in Gulumpe erupted from an violent clash between Gonja and Konkomba factions, leaving 4 individuals critically injured. As a result of the tension, women and children fled for safety, leaving behind their husbands to protect the properties they have worked and built in the community for a longer period of time because they are the indigenous people of the land. The police were deployed to the community to ensure law and order, and since the police were deployed, calm had returned to the community. The people who fled as a result of the tension and are gradually returning to their homes because calm is gradually returning. The community, at the time when the tension started, the community came to a standstill and there were nothing going on in the community. Markets, shops, schools were closed as a result of the tension. And even when you want to board a vehicle to the community or along the stretch to the community, you are likely to delay before the vehicle is fully loaded and then depart to the community or wherever you want to go. So now the police presence has been calm, as I've already said. I was told that the community was once a bustling community. They are into charcoal selling. They also do charcoal loading and farming. But because of the tension, no one is going to their farm to bring out their charcoal and then take it to the market to sell. So currently, peace is gradually returning. Peace has returned to the community, but people still feel that the community is not safe. But for those who have the assurance that the police presence will maintain the peace in the community, they are gradually returning. And on Wednesday, it arrested 2 people who were in possession of firearms and ammunition, which the Interior did as part of efforts to maintain law and order in the community, instructed that no one should carry firearms or ammunition, war regalia in the community in order to maintain peace in the community. Yesterday, that's Thursday, the police has also made an additional arrest of 3 people who are in possession of offensive weapons, which is also contrary to the Interior Minister's instructions.
So, Hamzata, so far 5 people have been arrested?
Yes, 5 people have been arrested.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Hamzata Idrisu is our reporter from the area, bringing us updates as to how many people have been arrested following the clash in Gulumpe. But away from that, stakeholders in sustainability are calling for stronger collaboration to protect the environment, and fast-track the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. At the second edition of the International Conference on Environment, Social Governance and Sustainable Development, founder of Women in Sustainability Africa, Nanaya Sewasapon, highlighted the need to put women at the center of environmental and sustainability efforts. She noted that empowering women and giving them leadership roles in sustainability initiatives will not only help protect the environment, but also accelerate economic growth and enhance progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals.
It was a gathering of policymakers, researchers, and industry leaders, all united by one mission: building a more sustainable and inclusive Africa. At the event, convener of Women in Sustainability Africa, Nanaya Sewasapon, highlighted the need of placing women at the center of sustainability.
To drive inclusive economic growth and reduce poverty amongst others, there is a need for an intentional and clear understanding of setting and aligning economic and social dynamics in specific contexts. So even when we are talking about the SDGs, let's involve women. Let's talk about women and young people. And this will in turn positively impact the involvement and contribution of the women in the SDGs.
The conference, which brought together experts from across the continent, also tackled pressing environmental challenges, particularly illegal mining, known locally as Gulumpe.
We must go green in our bodies, okay? The things that we consume. I've just been informed that even contumely now, when you boil it, it's not boiling because of the pollution in our system, our ecosystem, pollution, emission pollution, Gulumpe pollution. It's everywhere. And we are consuming things that are killing our bodies. So we are not dying because we get sick. We are dying because we are killing ourselves.
All activities that we do must be guided by our conscience in such a way that we don't destroy the environment. So the GHOne concept came in to encourage businesses to conduct their businesses responsibly, taking into consideration the environmental issues.
Government is part of us, and we all have to support government, the youth especially, because some of the youth know where this problem exists. Those that are doing the Gulumpe, how old are they? Are they not part of the youth? They are part of the youth, so they need to help government.
Participants called on organizations and corporations to go beyond profit-making and start disclosing environmental data as part of their sustainability reporting. They believe transparency will help measure real progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals.
You're still watching Newsroom Live on GHOne TV with me, Nadima, Umar, Uthman. In some more stories, Vice President Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman has assured Ghanaians in the diaspora that the Mahama administration is investing in policies aimed at generating sustainable employment opportunities for the country's youth. She said Ghana's commitment to achieving food self-sufficiency through initiatives such as the Feed Ghana program, among others, would create long-term jobs for the youth under the government. Professor Opoku-Agyeman also said that she also made these remarks in a meeting with members of the Ghanaian community in Iowa in the USA.
Ghanaian students are found everywhere, and that is a source of pride, at least for me who has spent so much of my life on the campuses. So one may ask, so what are we about? Ghana is about ensuring that there is inclusive development. That is, that our focus is on bringing everybody towards the center. We know those who are in the center, we know those who are not there. So the focus is on those who are not there. Therefore, using power means empowering those who don't have the power through whatever means. And for some of us, that is the meaning of politics. The strategies will be many, but we want to focus on 4 main areas. The first is job creation. We have a youthful population of whom we are very proud. We know they are brilliant. All they need is a little bit of helping hand. And how are we doing this? We are doing this on many levels, but mainly through agricultural transformation. We are also interested in agribusiness. It's a very long chain.
The Greater Accra Regional Minister and MP for Shai Osudoku, Linda Oklu, has urged the public to make regular health checkups a priority to promote overall well-being. She made the call during the inauguration of the Regional Coordinating Council Wellness Center. According to her, the center will provide convenient access to routine health screenings and, in the long run, help prevent illnesses and improve the quality of life of residents.
When you fall ill frequently or you are not in your best health, productivity drops and our collective work suffers, since the work we do at RCC and across the region is critical. We coordinate, plan, support the development of the region. To do this well, we must stay healthier physically, mentally, and emotionally. This is why we have established the World Center to help us move from treating illness to preventing it. This center is therefore designed to give you easy access to regular health checks to identify issues early, counseling services to help manage stress, health education to promote better lifestyles, and quick referrals when a serious condition is detected.
Let's now bring you updates from the world of business.
The Business Brief is brought to you by CompuGhana, passion for technology.
Mom, these shoes are too big for me.
You're welcome back to Newsroom Live on GHOne TV. In business, Ghana's domestic debt stock has exceeded external debt for the first time in several years. According to data from the Bank of Ghana's September 2025 Summary of Economic and Financial Data, domestic debt stood at 323.7 billion Ghana cedis, representing 23.1% of gross domestic product, while external debt amounted to 305 billion Ghana cedis, equivalent to 21.8% of GDP. The central bank attributed the rise in domestic borrowing to expected coupon payment obligations on both tendered and untendered government bonds in February and August 2025, which led to higher borrowing to build fiscal buffers. Overall, the stock of public debt at the end of July 2025 stood at 628.8 billion Ghana cedis, representing 44.9% of GDP. This reflects a reduction of 98 billion Ghana cedis compared to the 726.7 billion Ghana cedis recorded at the end of December 2024. On the fiscal front, government recorded a budget deficit of 1.4% of GDP in July 2025, while the primary balance showed a surplus of 0.7%. The Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, Savannah Agricultural Research Institute, has introduced 3 newly developed maize varieties that are resistant to the fall armyworm pest, a major threat to Ghana's agricultural productivity. This innovation is expected to boost food security and enhance the resilience of local farming systems against pest invasions.
Intensive research by CSIR-SARI scientists to address the devastating effects of pest infestations, particularly the fall armyworm, which continues to destroy thousands of hectares of maize annually. The manager of the CSIR-SARI Technology Park at Nyankpala, Dr. Charles Nalimo, explains that the new maize line not only resists armyworm attacks, but also deliver high yields, producing over 6 tons per hectare under good agronomic practices.
So when it comes to maize, you realize that since 2016, there have been the outbreak of a pest known as the fall armyworm. And this is very devastating when it comes to maize production. So we have come up with some varieties, 3 of them, that are tolerant to this fall armyworm. The yield potentials of these varieties ranges between 6 to 6.6 tons per hectare under the fall armyworm infestation.
The council chairman of CSIR-SARI, Engineer Mark Anthony Taylor, described the innovation as a major milestone in Ghana's quest for agricultural transformation through science and technology. He emphasized that such breakthroughs are critical in reducing poverty and achieving sustainable national development.
The key to poverty alleviation is through agriculture, and CSIR is the premier institution in Ghana that can help the government achieve its goals when it comes to poverty alleviation, and we have to do it through agriculture. So I'll tell him to give more funding to the various institutes to be able to do their work. As I look around, there are so many issues, challenges, infrastructure, lack of laboratory equipment, the staffs need more motivation, capacity training, all those things. It's all about money.
The Director General of CSIR, Professor Paul P. Bosu, reaffirmed the Institute's commitment to advancing agricultural research and innovation to support farmers and strengthen Ghana's food systems.
We know that government has this flagship initiative, the 24-hour economy, and then the Feed Ghana program, and all these have very strong. The Feed Ghana obviously is agri-based. The 24-hour economy program initiative also has a strong agri component, and so we are asking, calling on government. Of course, we are a public agency, we are a government agency, to work with us. We are already doing that. We have made the moves. We've approached the 24-hour secretariat, and so we are working. Government should bring us more resources.
Some sports updates with Benjamin Yamwa.
And you're welcome on to sports, where the Black Queens recorded a 3-0 victory over Egypt in Ismailia in the first leg of the women's AFCON qualifiers. Doris Bodua, Mary Amponse, and Grace Santua were on target on the scores for the Black Queens in a thumping win. Now, speaking after the game, head coach of the Black
We haven't been together for a while.
Now Premier League, and on your screens at the moment. That's because for today's games, we are part of Lions in action against Basake Holy Stars FC. Tomorrow, Vienna Stars take on Dreams FC in a game on Saturday. Then on Sunday, we'll have these fixtures. Hartso Folk will be at home as they welcome defending league champions BBNE Gold Stars. Mediama take on Swedru All Blacks at the TNA Stadium. Karela also take on Bechim at the Ali Mahama Stadium in Tamale. Samatex will take on Hohoi at the Century Sports Arena. Nations welcome 11 Wonders to the Kwame Chase Sports Complex. And the Young Apostles take on Brekum Chelsea at the Wenchi Sports Stadium. The game between Vision and Kodoko postponed because Kodoko battle tonight at 7 p.m. in the Confederation Cup. They take on WAC of Morocco in a game tonight at 7 p.m. So good luck to the Pokemon Warriors for the game today against WAC of Morocco. Folks coach Tito Amani has been speaking ahead of a big game for his team on Sunday against the BNE Gold Stars. Let's take a listen to Coach Amani speaking ahead of the game on Sunday.
I think that it's important to acknowledge that they have a very strong transitional play, and also it is important to acknowledge that they have the experience playing together for a longer time, and so you can understand that they have a very consistent team, and then you can also expect that we have what it takes in terms of our team structure, in terms of our team organization, and in terms of how we are able to create spaces and how we are able to exploit spaces that is within the opponent's team. And so we are very positive that we try as much as possible, respect what they have, and to try to work on what we have as our strengths in terms of controlling spaces.
And that's it for sports. My name is Benjamin Yama. Up next is international news.
On the international front, the United Nations is urging Gaza's main southern crossing at Rafah to be opened immediately and for Gaza to receive a major surge of humanitarian aid amid the recently brokered ceasefire. Under the terms of the ceasefire deal, Israel agreed to allow up to 600 aid trucks per day into Gaza, but aid agencies say the actual volume is far below that target. Many Palestinians in Gaza continue to struggle to access basic amenities such as food, clean water and medical care, despite the pause in large-scale fighting. The UN says delay in aid and restricted access are... I beg your pardon. The UN says that the delay in the access to receiving aid such as food is causing a humanitarian collapse. At the same time, the International Court of Justice has ruled Israel, occupying power, has the legal obligation to ensure that the basic needs of Gaza's civilian population are met, including through unhindered entry of humanitarian aid. Israel has rejected the court's findings, that is according to the United Nations. And that's how we wrap up this edition of a Newsroom Live on GHOne TV. I am Nadima Umar Uthman. But for more news, log on to starfm.com.gh. Good afternoon.